Nibbler, the founder of Fanny Pack PC.
Submitting scribbles to the patent office. There's like scribbles of a guy with like some stuff attached to
I
it.
just want you to work up the prototype of the Fanny Pack PC.
Oh yeah,
and showcase that
by
next
tomorrow.
week.
By next week, I'll have it ready.
Next week you can display it for us. You can model the Fanny Pack PC. All right, this is Close to the Metal. This is our weekly show where we go in depth with computing and different topics associated with it. And today we are going to be talking about the new Mac OS that has come out. We're going to get into detail with it, do a review of it. We want to hear your questions if you're watching live. So go ahead and pop those in there on YouTube and let us know what you want to talk about. If you have questions about it, if you want to go into it, if you dispute something that we say, that is fine. If you have your own ideas about a new computer that you want to start, a la Brad over here, then let us know the details on that. I'm your host, Greg Nibbler. So before we go into this too much, let's go ahead and see who our roundtable is. And to my right,
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. Hello,
Brad.
Matt.
Oh, sorry.
And founder of FannyPackPC.com.
Brad Burke.
Brad Burke. And on the end,
Jace Wagner.
hello, Jace. And this is your first time on our show.
Yes.
So, Jace, for anybody who doesn't know, what do you do here?
I'm a staff writer. Write about
Excellent.
computers,
Okay.
games.
And real quick, are you a Mac or a PC person?
In my heart, I'm a PC person, but I keep trying.
Okay.
Keep trying to make the Macs work.
You keep trying to make it happen. Make it happen.
Sounds like you've got an abusive relationship with the Mac.
I do. I do. I keep going back.
Well, all right, let's get into this and talk about this release, the macOS Sierra, which just came out yesterday, I believe, right? On the September 20th. Mm-hmm. And this is the newest update for the Apple computer. And it's got to, I mean, I have to say, over the last couple of years, it seems like Apple has kind of neglected the computer portion of their business. I mean, you see everything being updated with iPhones. iPhone 7's been the huge thing over the last couple of days, like a couple of weeks, couple of months, years, I don't know. iPhone 7, and then the watches and everything else. But Mac OS is their newest venture into the OS for Apple computers. And Matt, can you tell us that? Because it was OS X. Why did they change to Mac OS?
Because everything has to start with a lowercase letter now?
That is it? Okay, is that really what it gets down to?
I mean, that's sort of the thing. This is a name change. This is a branding change, right?
Okay.
They have iOS.
Right.
And they also have
tvOS.
tvOS, which
Watch
I think
OS.
is lowercase. It's
Watch
like
OS.
TV, lowercase OS.
Car OS or whatever.
Yeah, so they're like, well, we need to do macOS because OS X or OS 10 doesn't make sense anymore. So I mean that's fine.
So that's
but,
really what it is. It's just straight up a branding.
yeah, but
decision.
sometimes it's like you change the name and like of an operating system like that, and people are like, oh, like this is going to be the new version, but it's the same like fundamental operating system. It's not like a big leap or anything.
So despite the name change, it's not a huge leap. So
Yeah.
when was the last major update for Apple? Just for the backstory before we go into this.
Well, they do yearly updates
Okay. So it was,
of OS 10.
and last year was El Capitan or whatever. Or,
Yes, El Capitan.
okay. So this is the new one that just came out on the 20th. And I guess let's go ahead and get into it. And again, we do want to hear your questions if you have some. So with this, macOS Sierra, their brand new rebranded and update that they have, what's new? What do we have in this thing?
Well, I think the big thing is Siri.
So Siri has become more integrated into it, or
Is integrated.
it is
into it.
integrated, I guess.
Yeah. Siri wasn't available on the Mac before, and now it is, and it shows up by the Spotlight, which is their desktop search, up in the upper right-hand corner, and so you can just hit it, and
You are doing this
Yes,
live
I'm
right
doing
now
it
on
right
your
now.
computer.
Siri, what's the weather? And it's going to give you, just like on your phone, the expected response of, and it looks exactly like iOS too. Just you can do things like that. You can schedule appointments. You can open various apps, which is
Okay.
probably where it gets more interesting. You can.
So trying to bring Siri in that
Yeah,
iOS
you can ask Siri like, what are the best selling like Mac apps? It actually will open up the Mac App Store, and I'll show you the bestseller list. You can open up your Notes app. You can do a lot of things with maps, which is kind of nice. Like you can ask, if there's food nearby, and it actually will bring up maps and tell you that where it is. And it used to be if you use Spotlight for that sort of things, you can be like, hey, like, is there like good Chinese food nearby? And it'll just be like, I don't know, man, go to Yelp. and now it actually will show you Apple Maps and respond to your commands. So that's like probably that's the big headliner.
Okay. That seems like kind of a lame headliner, if I'm going to be honest.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have interest in Siri for Mac?
Not really. I mean, if it's on all the time, I could see some use cases where you're busy and your computer is, across the room and you just want to ask it to look something up or set a timer. So, I mean, honestly, that's all I use Siri for, is setting timers, like when I'm cooking.
But you can't do it from across the room with this, right?
And that's the thing. That's probably,
Yeah. You could throw something. You could, toss things at your computer and try and hit the, because it's probably Apple Space or something to pull it up.
So it doesn't just, you have to actually activate it.
There's no, hey,
so you're
Cortana.
already pressing something.
Yeah.
You already have to physically activate it
So,
to turn on the voice. At that point, why can't you just search for?
Is it any faster to, shout at Siri to try and find out about good Chinese food, or is it just better to, click the Maps app in my lower icon bar when it's right there and type, food, and it just pulls up a bunch of results? Is this, at least with Cortana, I will say that, being able to hit that Windows key and just type a couple letters and it going well, I don't see an app by that name. Are you looking for this? Maybe I'll pull up in a browser. That there's some sort of it's sort of a shortcut to things. It can be.
Well, you could actually say, "Hey Cortana," and it will respond to
you.
you.
If you really want to yell
Siri
at it.
doesn't really do that, which is a downside. I think Siri works well, but yeah, that's one of the downsides. The other downside is that there's no text input. So with both Cortana,
Look
Just what is the advantage?
with both Cortana and Google Now, which you might be using on a variety of Android systems, you can actually type in something and it'll be okay, here's the results, and it's basically the same as if you had asked it with your voice. And that's kind of a weird thing to not have on a desktop
That
system.
just seems like a pain. They're trying to be obtuse about it. Why would you not have basic functionality of?
You're less likely to be talking to your computer than to your phone, right? Because you do the keyboard there. And in fact, a point I brought up in my review is that if we're in the office here, we have a big pulpit office, so we're all together. I can't be there hey Siri, make an appointment for me. Yeah, 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'm going to go to the doctor. And then everyone's everyone's just going to be there listening to my conversation with my computer.
Siri, get test results.
That's kind of awkward, So yeah, I don't know exactly why they did that. I feel like they should have went the extra mile. And you can do some of that stuff with Spotlight.
Right.
Which got an upgrade 1 or 2 versions ago, so it got some digital assistant-like features. But Spotlight is separate.
See,
and it doesn't do all the things that Siri does. So this is a very strange...
Yeah. I mean, why would you not just integrate those two into one great search function, that you could have on your computer? But okay. That's where it's at, though. Siri is separate from Spotlight. So Siri is one of the big updates that we've got. What else do we have on this one?
Well, optimized storage. And I'll let Jace talk about this one because he wrote an article about it yesterday. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so optimized storage is probably one of the more useful features of the new update, mostly because it just lets you save a lot of hard drive space, basically by putting everything on the cloud. So you go into your settings, and once you set it up, your documents and stuff that you haven't used for a while will still be everywhere you left them on your computer, but they'll actually be living on the cloud, not taking up space on your computer.
Okay, so it'll do it automatically for you?
Yeah, once you enable it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's you choose which kinds of files, so it doesn't put anything that you need offline on the cloud, so you can't get it. But the nice thing is that it leaves everything where it was instead of just putting everything in a Dropbox. It's still accessible right where you left it.
Okay. All right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I do like that idea of it. So optimized storage.
Yeah, it's pretty automatic, and I think it's something that I think it's the kind of thing that makes a really technical problem a lot easier.
Yeah.
So if you were trying to do this manually, it'd be a big hassle. So the only downside to it, people are gonna cynically notice this. It's this is a great way to sell iCloud storage.
Yeah, that was going to be my next
But,
question.
I mean, to be fair, Microsoft does basically the same thing with OneDrive, where if you have Word, it's like, hey, save that OneDrive. Hey, you want to save that OneDrive? yeah, you do. That'd be so convenient. You could get it anywhere. So, they both do this, and it's kind of expected. And you don't have to do it. You can opt out if you want to.
Right.
So.
I also think from a more paranoid angle about this, one thing that always kind of stuck out to me about like iOS and the dawn of mobile operating systems was a lack of File Explorer, and this seems like sort of a move towards like almost keeping people out of the File Explorer. I think that like you kind of pushing people to like, no, use our apps, use the connected apps. Don't worry about going into your file system because things are there, but they're not really, they're on the cloud. Let us worry about that. You just,
don't look behind the curtain.
You just hang out and do your iTunes, and we'll take care of the rest.
You do you.
Yeah.
We'll take care of your files for you.
I'm not saying they're going to like take out Finder, but it does seem like a sort of a way to continue to push people towards that like we can handle this for you.
Right.
Like don't worry about it kind of thing.
Maybe they should just take out Finder because Finder is awful.
It's fine. As far as like file explorers go, like what do you want more features? Like
I don't.
It would be nice if it weren't slow.
I hate Finder, man. Like
I'm not sure if I
slow,
trust
too.
the guy with the Apple shirt on.
it's awful.
Finder's great. I love Finder. I love everything Mac makes.
No, it's terrible.
All right, so optimized storage. We've got Siri. These are the things that are new in macOS Sierra. So if you're just tuning in, we want to hear your questions. Kind of going through what we've got that's different compared to what we had before. What else do we have? What are the big, giant changes that Mac has made other than it's macOS?
Well, there's the...
I think by that, it just kind of explains it. Right
what
Their apps are better, right? Some of the...
Well, the iTunes looks more like the phone now.
Did they add more wallpapers? I know sometimes they add more wallpapers.
Photos. Oh, there's different wallpaper. Photos.
Okay.
I mean, we're kind of being like,
Right.
but there really isn't a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot of small tweaks. Those are fine. Like one of the small tweaks is now apps can use tabs that aren't like any app can use tabs, which I guess is a feature. I feel like probably anyone who programmed a Windows app could probably do something similar.
Yeah.
But they
Already,
don't. I mean, it
but
would be neat to have like
it's cool, whatever. But yeah, and it's not really like anything groundbreaking.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So that's what we're down to. All right. So new in macOS Sierra. Just to recap, Siri, bringing Siri to the computer, although you still have to physically activate it. You've got optimized storage, which that actually does sound like it could have some advantages. That's something I could actually see. That's a bit of an improvement. And other than that, iTunes looks slicker and maybe some new desktop screens.
Yeah, definitely some wallpapers. Yeah.
Definitely some wallpapers. All right. Well, with this, I mean, still, it's going to be a free upgrade if somebody wants to do it, as usual. So, if you have a Mac currently, what do you have to have in order to be able to take advantage of this upgrade? Like, what systems does it work on?
Well, it's gonna work on basically anything that's 2010 or later,
Okay.
and some old MacBooks, late 29 and later. So like not the new like thin one, but
Right.
old ones. Those are going to work. An iMac from late 29 or later. That's listed to work. So, pretty old systems.
Yeah.
6, 7 years. So that's not too bad. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I don't think the compatibility has changed much from
From last
year.
upgrade? Okay.
Yeah. If there's been changes, I think it's pretty minor.
Okay. So essentially, if you upgraded in the last year or so, you should be able to still upgrade on this one for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. And add in the other, the new things that we've got there. So how's the performance on some of the older machines?
I did the review of it on a 2012 MacBook Air,
Okay.
Core i5, and performance is quite good. It's one of the high
Okay.
points of Sierra. Sometimes with any new operating system, you hear it like every time an operating system comes out. Someone swears that it destroyed their performance.
Right.
And maybe it's true, maybe it's not, maybe they're just having a bad day. But
Well, you're always going to have somebody that's like that, though.
yeah. This time, though, I think there was something to that with some of the Mac updates from a few years ago, which were updates that were more significant and did some things to the back end.
I mean, I will say I'm still scarred from the iTunes updates from years ago that would always screw up my entire catalog. And
Well, this
delete
one's
everything.
fine.
Okay.
It's quite speedy. And,
All right.
Jace, were you using it on the Mac Mini?
Yeah, I'm using it on, I think it's a 2013, 2014 Mac Mini, but it's very slow until I upgraded to Sierra, and it's a little bit better. It boots up faster. I can open more tabs
Yeah.
without it really chugging.
I think the problem with that Mini, does that have a mechanical disc?
No,
Oh, it doesn't?
no.
Well, heck, I don't know why it's so slow then.
It's very slow, but it's a little bit less slow now, so...
Okay. Yeah, so, good things about performance.
Okay. So should you upgrade then? I guess this is what it comes down to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Do the upgrade.
No.
No. Brad, on the end. Brad,
Devil's
tell
advocate
us-
here.
Tell us why. Tell us
I
why
have
we should
nothing
not.
to
All right, fair enough. Fair point right
This is
there.
this is sort of something that we were talking about the other day, though. That like, sort of, if you, it's hard to like review an operating system independent of its platform because it's like if you buy
Yeah.
a Mac, you get either a Mac or you boot camp Windows and Linux, and if you get a
Right.
Windows machine, then you get to choose either the newest Windows or find an old one or Linux. Like, you don't have a whole lot of options here.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck with what you've got.
Yeah, like, and especially with Mac, I don't know how quickly like support ends for, like older systems, but I'd imagine you probably start losing out on feature updates pretty quickly if you don't update to Sierra and you are able to.
That's a good question, actually. How long does that normally last?
Like the feature
Yeah.
update's still working? Well, I think it's really a matter of the new operating system having new features, and if you don't update, you don't get them. Like,
Right.
the big thing a few years ago, I think it was with Mavericks, was when they really started going hard on the iOS integrations. Like, you can use Messenger and send messages over SMS via your iPhone, blah blah blah. And if you didn't upgrade to that, then you couldn't use it.
Then you're out of luck.
And I don't know if there's anything on this version that's quite like that. Although, I mean, obviously, if you don't upgrade, you're not going to get, for example, optimized storage. So if you didn't upgrade, you've still got an iCloud account, and you're just not using it to the full capacity that you possibly could if you upgraded. The only reason people, wouldn't want to upgrade is if there was a bug. I haven't really heard too much about that.
Bugs in this.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, and usually after.
Granted, this has only been out for a day, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, it has been out for a day, but the beta's been going on for like months.
Sure.
So, but like iOS, like it came out, and I think there was immediately like
Yeah. Same.
it doesn't like there was an airplane mode thing where I wasn't finding people's carrier after coming out airplane mode and stuff like that.
And it would
Haven't
brick
seen.
some phones. And,
Yeah.
That's good.
So I
Okay.
think it's okay.
Okay, so it's okay to do the upgrade. You're going to be safe.
You'll be so safe.
You'll be so safe.
Yeah,
So
you'll-
safe, bro. All right, so what else do we have with this before we go into it, kind of comparing where Mac is at right now with compared to Windows, and I think we should have a little discussion about that, about who's advancing faster. What else can you say about this upgrade? What else should people know about if they're getting ready to do this upgrade? We've talked about how there's the Siri. Siri is now integrated. You've got optimized storage, some small things that have happened, but what else should people know? Is there anything else that you think, Jace, anything you think somebody should know if they're getting ready to do this upgrade?
They do have the compatibility issue with anything that's not 2009 or newer, but there's they do also recommend that you have at least 2 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
I don't think that'll
Most
be a
people that
problem.
won't be a problem, but
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem for anything from 2009 to now. But yeah, so having more is definitely going to keep your performance better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the 2 gigs of RAM thing, I had a MacBook with 2 gigs of RAM, like, way back when,
Yeah,
and it didn't run well then, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't
exactly,
imagine
like,
it would run
it's-
very well now, but...
I don't think it's going to hurt anyone's performance
Yeah.
that much.
Okay. All right. And again, if you are tuning in, please put your questions there into YouTube and let us know what your comments are. We'll get to those and kind of cover them as we're going through this live review of macOS Sierra. So we've kind of hit, what is available now, what's come with this upgrade. It's not a whole lot, but there are some improvements. Now let's talk about this compared to Windows, though. With this upgrade, it seems like Mac is now with macOS. It almost seems like they're playing a little bit of catch up compared to Windows. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Brad? You are a PC guy through and through, as you've made clear on this show. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think, one of the things is that Windows, not to go back too far, but like Windows
Mm-hmm.
8, 8.1 was sort of Microsoft saying, this is what we think people are doing with our operating system. And Windows 10 has been this exercise in them for like holding nothing sacred and just being like, this is what our users want. Like, as an insider, I get asked constantly, like, I'll open, like, VLC and be like, did that program open quickly enough? Did you like the way it opened? Did you like the animation? Like, it's always, like, it's asking for input, and things are changing constantly. And that's been really different for them. But Windows 10 was also a huge feature upgrade.
Yeah.
It was a big, they brought in all kinds of new stuff and new UI that people really appreciated. And the macOS updates are starting to feel really incremental. They're really iterative, and I think that's kind of a problem that Apple has been facing more broadly, is that they used to be this company that sort of like set a really far goal and then figured out how to do it, and that was always really cool. And now it's
Ahead
like,
of
we
the
can
curve.
do, and now it's sort of becoming like, we can do this too. It's like
They're not setting the bar. They're
Yeah.
just kind of following what everybody else is doing. Well, do you think that's kind of more of a bigger problem of just them focusing on so much with iPhones and mobile technology and all these other things that they're getting into and just kind of leaving desktops behind? Are they just losing focus on that?
Well, I think that's part of the problem with the iPhone too. Over the last couple
Yeah.
of generations, is the iPhone did used to be this thing where it was like, we're the first ones to do this. We're going to pack this super high resolution screen in there that nobody else has, and things like that. And now it's like, we took out a headphone port. Isn't that neat? Or like, even the last generation wasn't there. 3D touch. And it was like, I know people who have that and they don't really use it because it's like sometimes a little useful, but mostly doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Like, these aren't things that are really setting the bar new. They're not putting out that iPhone and saying like, this thing browses the web. Your phone doesn't do that, And I would have liked, especially I think, a hardware update for the MacBooks. I kind of wonder if they're just chasing this dragon of like, we can do that again.
Yeah.
But like, it's a laptop. What are you going to do?
Right. Matt, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
Well,
you
I
are
think-
wearing the Apple shirt.
I
Let's
think
point
that
out.
it's really instructive. If you look at like what Microsoft did with Windows 10 Anniversary Update, and what Apple's done with this update. I think it's pretty clear that Microsoft's update was broader, was more interesting, was better. Like Windows 10 Anniversary Edition did this whole thing of Windows Ink improving the touch experience and adding new features like the ability to write on the touch screen outside of actually even logging into the system to do some quick work, things like that. And it also added major improvements to the notifications, which are way better than they were just a year ago when Windows 10 launched. That stuff is just more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
And especially for, laptop users than what, Apple's come out recently. And it's particularly interesting because Windows Ink is like these iterations on a feature that Apple's just said, well, no, like we're not going to do that. And they still don't do that. No touch on your computer. It just feels like Apple committed to that, said we're just going to leave it as is, and we're not going to try and advance it. Microsoft is trying to advance it, and it's really starting to show the difference.
Well, it feels like Microsoft's just being stubborn. Like, I mean, they generally do that, though. I mean, it's like, nope, this is how it is. This is what we're doing. You're going to like it, and you're going to buy it, and we're going to do exactly what we want to do, and you'll adapt to us. Like, we're not going to adapt to what
I think actually no. It's like completely the reverse of that. Like,
you think so?
Microsoft screwed up with Windows 8 and 8.1. They went
True.
They
Yeah,
went
that was
all
terrible.
in on this touch thing, and it turned out that wasn't like the proper strategy. So they completely, did a turn with Windows 10, made it a lot more desktop focused, and I think that is where Microsoft is winning because they are focusing on desktop and laptop users. And they have touch features, yes, but they are now building them in ways that benefit people who have desktops and laptops.
Yeah.
And they're not ignoring the features that benefit people with desktops and laptops. Look at Siri and how Siri works on Sierra, why it works the way it does. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for a desktop or laptop system. It's just like, it's weird.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you know what Siri is? We'll put that on there, too.
I mean, like, it's there,
Name recognition.
but you really wish you could interact with it in different ways. It feels like they just did the bare bones effort. So, yeah, I think Microsoft is definitely exceeding. And and there's just things like you wonder why Mac doesn't do it. Like, why doesn't Mac have a snap feature so you can really easily put Windows where you want them?
Well, let's talk
That's
about that.
been around for years.
Let's talk about what features you would like to see in macOS, in the new macOS that are not there. So it's definitely the snapping windows, which that's an old thing when it comes when it comes
Yeah.
to Windows machines. But Brad, what do you think?
Boy, I think just a better way to like browse files and programs together. I know like a lot of people really appreciate the way you like move applications in and move them out and all that stuff, but I kind of prefer like being able to like, I don't know, to have, because this dock is like, I don't want to put all of my application icons on this dock, and I don't want to dig through a folder. Like I'd much rather like some pop outs and things like that. There are a lot of nice UI features, especially I know one thing you talked about in the hands-on was this separation, where you've got a menu bar on the top and the dock on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's this really odd,
make any
like,
sense.
why don't you put those things together? Like there's no reason you couldn't have your icons pop up when you drop below the dock or something. And that's always even like, it's so fixed there that it becomes this like resolution thing where it's like your screen is this resolution plus the menu bar on top is this resolution unless you're full screen and stuff. And I think that's just, that's one of the things about Windows. It's very customizable. You kind of make it. You can shoehorn it into
own.
doing what you want it to do.
Right. Jace, what do you think?
Honestly, the biggest one is the snapping windows. Like
Snapping windows?
Yeah, on the Mac Mini, I still try to do that just instinctively, and then I'm like, oh, now I need to move my windows and resize them. I mean, that's...
You don't like the slider,
No.
full screen apps?
It's so basic, it doesn't make sense that it's not just in there.
Yeah, it seems like it would just be intuitive at this point.
Yeah,
But that's just
exactly.
part of any new system. So snapping windows. What else would we like to see in a new operating system that they didn't bring this time?
Well,
And I should say too, that question goes out to you watching as well. What would you like to see in the new macOS? We're going through everything, kind of covered what Sierra has. And just to recap again, Siri's now integrated, some optimized storage. Other than that, not a whole lot of improvements, and we want to know what you'd like to see in it, because I'm curious what other people would as well.
one other big thing is just like some sort of commitment to gaming.
Okay.
On the Mac, because gaming on the Mac has never been great, but recently in particular, it really isn't good.
That does seem like something they just have no interest in focusing on.
It's, if I'm recalling everything right, it's been quite some time since they went and updated their Open GL support.
Yeah, it's old, and that's part of it. Yeah.
And that's a big problem. Like they say they want to go with their new sort of own APIs, Metal, right? Metal API, but that's not
How'd that go
catching
again,
on
Brad?
with
Just
the
really
kind
quick.
of developers that make actual like AAA games. So that's why, like for example, Blizzard recently came out with Overwatch. There's no Mac version of that, right?
No, and they actually did say that it wasn't a software issue, they said it was a hardware issue. That the hardware required to run that game wasn't present enough on the Mac side, so there wasn't enough of a
Yeah,
market.
and the Macs are behind on hardware, so even if there was a software, you're dealing with old video chips. So
I always get in this argument with one of our affiliate people because he has like a nice Mac at home, and he's like, I want to play Overwatch. And I'm like, boot camp it. You don't have an excuse. Like if I want to play a game that's only for Mac, like Photoshop, I have to get a Mac to play it. And I, instead you actually have the opportunity. Like he has like a MacBook Pro or whatever. It's like your MacBook Pro can probably handle Overwatch. You just need to boot camp it. You just need to install Windows and play it there. Like, it's sort of this odd thing where like they don't want to do gaming, so they were just like, well, install Windows. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need. I'd love to see them have Vulkan support too. I think that would be a really cool thing. We've already seen like Linux machines, even though Doom doesn't officially support Vulkan on Linux. People got into working and it runs beautifully because that's a really nice open standard. And I was just looking at something that's apparently like an implementation of Vulkan in Metal that they call Molten, which is pretty good. But yeah, I think like gaming is tough because the hardware isn't there and the OS doesn't support it, and it's sort of this like repeating cycle where it's like, well, they don't want to develop for it because nobody's playing, and nobody's playing, so they don't want to develop for it, and back and forth. And
It seems like such a huge market that Mac would want to get into, though. Why is it that they don't want to try to break into that?
I mean, Steam is trying, right? You can play Steam on your Mac, and they've got a lot of games.
Well,
at
I
this point.
think they just buried themselves a little bit too deep
Because
because they they are interested in games, but at this point, and this is a broader problem with Mac in general. Mac is just not Apple's focus. It's a tiny sliver of the money they make.
Yeah.
So they're interested in games on your iPhone. They are not going to put the resources in to the Mac, which is disappointing because Apple's thing, their brand has always been like, we want the best of the best. We're going to design the best of the best. But the truth of the matter is, they're not making that much money on the Mac, so they're not going to put the resources into it. So, like, it's just pure
Like,
old-fashioned capitalism. They're not going to invest it, and it makes sense, but it is sure disappointing.
Well, that brings a question actually that just came up in the chat. When will Apple come out with new hardware? So
Who knows?
We keep saying
that's
every
the big
time they
question. Every time they have an announcement, it's like, oh, are they going to have something new? It's like, and it never really is. So, I mean, are they going to, or is this just going to be just kind of an ancillary thing that they oh yeah, I forgot, Apple made computers at one point.
I think the MacBook Pro is a computer, especially it has its niche. It has its like group of people who really love that system and will continue to buy MacBook Pros as long as they produce them.
Yeah.
And I think that you've already made some people upset with this headphone thing. Again, this comes back to an argument that I don't want to get into, but like the iPhone 7 headphone thing.
Rocking
and
the boat.
If you continue to start pushing away users who are looking for those features, who like want the MacBook Pro, like I know people who you're like the XPS 3 and they're like MacBook Pro, I want a MacBook Pro. That's like, it's fine, you like that computer, but like I think if you just stop making them, and they haven't made one in quite a while, then you are going to push those users away. And you're also confusing regular consumers, because I know my dad has a MacBook Pro and my mom wanted to get him a new one, and I was like, do not get him a MacBook Air, and I was like, do not get him a MacBook Air, because if you will walk into the Apple store and they will sell you the exact same MacBook Air that he already has. He got that one like 2 years ago, and it's the same model. Like, it hasn't changed. They have like a little more RAM in it. He doesn't need more RAM. Like, and I almost wondered, like, if she did, would they have sold her a new MacBook Air? Or would she have been like, this is, my husband's MacBook Air. It's, like, I want to get him a new one. And would they have been like, well,
oh, yeah. Oh, so out of
how about a nice laptop bag instead? Does he have an iPad? Like, would they try and steer her and like, I kind of want to do it. I kind of want to bring like this MacBook Air and just be like, I want a new MacBook Air. Is this one still, like, is there a bunch of new upgrades and stuff in the new one?
Have you seen how shiny the boxes are now?
See if they still want to, sell me a new one. The exact same one I have.
All right. Jace, what do you think?
It's been due for a long time.
Yeah. Is there any kind of hope that we can see this, or is this just?
I mean, I think it'll happen. I don't know that it'll happen soon, because everyone's been saying it's going to happen at the next announcement, that it's going to just be like something they throw in there, but they haven't done it.
Yeah.
And some of the lines haven't been a refresh in like what, a year, 2 years.
Yeah, we're talking just like a hardware refresh. So the biggest offender right now is I believe the MacBook Pro 15 is on 4th gen hardware, 4th gen Intel hardware, and Intel is in January. That's when we expect them to do the mobile quads. So you'll have Intel 7th gen mobile quads out. Well, if Apple doesn't update them between now and then, it's going to be 4th gen. In the product, should we expect them? We should expect them in the sense that like if you go to Mac rumors and they have their like don't buy thing, they've been a lot of red on that for a while, because they really should have updated them. And we always get these rumors. Like right now, the rumor is that they're going to replace the function keys with an OLED touch row that's customizable. Like that's the big rumor going around. But there was a rumor before that. There's a rumor before that. And so who knows? Like, it just hasn't been coming out like expected, and we don't know why. I mean, Apple's pretty leaky these days, right? Like,
it seems to be.
Things are coming out like early all the time. So it's conceivable they are working on this, but they just need to actually release the thing. So I don't know.
By the way, an OLED row of function keys is like a really good way to screw up boot camp. Just putting that out there. That Apple like sitting there trying to make a Windows driver for a customizable row of OLED function keys is a nightmare.
All right, so there we go. Anything else you guys want to add? Just as we're finishing up here our live review of macOS Sierra and just talking about Macs in general and upgrades. If you have any final questions, go ahead and pop those in there, and we'll get to those. Any final thoughts? So macOS Sierra, overall grade.
Well, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think we scored the review, but that's what I was going to give it, and then I don't think we put the score on it. But yeah, there you go.
I give it an F. Windows forever.
Is that your mic drop? Please don't drop the mic. Please don't do that. Actually, now that I said that,
like a C plus.
C plus. Okay.
I mean, it just doesn't have anything that's like groundbreaking or exciting. It's like, oh well, I'll just update it because might
Why
be
not?
like,
because it's there. Yeah, because it's
Exactly.
free and you can
like
you
it'll
can
pop
do it.
up and then you're just like, oh, I'll just do this. Not like, oh, I need to get this because it's got
I need to be
X
able to
new
type
feature.
into Siri here in a minute. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of the overall thing. So it's just kind of a 6 out of 10 C plus, but go ahead and do the upgrade.
Yeah.
Do the upgrade
There you go.
because it's free and it's there.
2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down from Brad. Brad has made his voice very clear on that. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this. So we do Close to the Metal. We broadcast this show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we cover in-depth topics like this. We'll go deep into something like macOS Sierra today. We've got a lot of different episodes that are up that you can either watch on YouTube or listen via podcast because it's available on iTunes or with this new flashy screen or anywhere else that you can find podcasts. We are there. We always like to hear questions too. If you have a topic that you think we should cover, send us an email, podcast@digitaltrends.com. And thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode.